It's no fun when our kids are sick, but we may just have found the silver lining. Apple and raspberry and orange flavoured electrolyte slushies made by Rehydrate.
Rehydrate slushies are a tasty way to get essential electrolytes into our little ones when they're dehydrated from sickness or even just the Aussie heat. They're delicious and they'll help your little ones feel better in no time. Grab Rehydrate from Coles today.
Look at you and I. There are things that we just don't like.
Yeah, like coriander. I can't eat the stuff. It's like poison.
I don't know what your problem is. Coriander is the food of the gods.
It's the Happy Families podcast, the podcast for the time-poor parent who just wants answers now. How you going? My name is Dr. Justin Coulson. I'm a dad to 6 daughters with my wife and partner in podcasting, Mrs. Happy Families, Kylie Coulson. I really love doing these podcasts with you. We're having so much fun. 2 weeks down, we're actually being really consistent. This is happening. This is happening.
I remember when we were talking about how this was all going to come about, and originally you were doing your podcast once a week, and we kind of played with the idea of, you know, whether or not we did it 3 or 4 times a week or we took it to the full 5 days. And the thought that I had in relation to that was just, you know, when you want to be better at something, you immerse yourself in it. And for those of us listening today, we want to be better. That's why we're here. And so having that daily input of inspiration and direction.
You're saying we're inspiring and directive?
I hope so. I hope so. I know that me being a participant in this has had such a profound impact on my day-to-day parenting with our children. And if it can help me, I'm really hoping it's helping someone else.
Yeah, I just like listening to it after I drop one of the kids off at school and driving home and listening to you and I talking. I'm like, yeah, I really like her. I'm gonna hang around for a while with this one.
You think I'm a keeper?
I do. If you would like to give us feedback, by the way, you can always leave reviews and ratings via the podcast app by which you're listening. But we would also love it if you'd send us an email. Give us some feedback. Podcasts with an S. Podcasts at happyfamilies.com.au. What we'd love for you to do is just leave us a voice memo. Like, you know how you can use your phone and you can record something and then send it? That would be awesome because then we can play it on the podcast. Tell us if it's changing you like it's changing Mrs. Happy Families. You know, I've noticed that you are dealing with the kids slightly differently since we're talking parenting and trying to be better every day. I'm really enjoying that.
Thanks, son. So it's no secret, we're not much of a TV watching family at all.
No, we don't watch it.
But this week a story came through my feed in response to last week's episode of SAS. It's a new reality TV show with some Australian celebrities on Channel 7.
Yeah, I think celebrities is probably a bigger claim to fame than... But anyway, go ahead. Yes.
Well, I have to admit there wasn't too many names that I knew, but maybe I'm just a little bit out of touch.
Yeah, we're so old and we don't watch TV anymore. Are they celebrities? Anyway, that's not really the purpose of our conversation today.
Well, Shane Warne's son, Jackson, is on the show and he's kind of been receiving a little bit of heat lately for his fussy eating habits.
You know what it is, Jackson?
The food? Soup.
Tomato soup.
Is that good?
I think so.
I've never had it.
Good. What?
I've only had like 10 different foods before.
Oh, you don't like to experience new foods?
Yeah.
Oh, this is huge for you then.
Yeah, so the heat's really on this guy. I mean, he's got a very limited palate, I think you might say. And somehow, and I'm not bagging out Warne, the dad, or Simone, the mum. I'm not even bagging out Jackson himself.
Well, it's well known that Warne himself will take a tin of spaghetti to the hotel with him because he really loves his baked beans and spaghetti.
Well, and so we've got this situation where it might be a case of, well, if it's okay for dad, it's okay for me. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. But this fussy eating thing, like we struggle with it ourselves, right? 6 kids, all of them at different times for different reasons, except one. We've got one child who is an absolute human vacuum. She will eat anything and just loves food and always has from day one. Face was always covered in food. But fussy eating is a bit of a challenge for most parents with at least one of their children, right?
Definitely. And I think one of the things that we struggle with as parents is that unlike our children, we actually get bored with the same foods day in, day out.
So let's have a conversation in just a sec and uncover, explore, unpack some of the challenges that we've dealt with and a little bit of science, but also mainly just some take-home messages about how you can help your kids if they're fussy eaters, whether they're 2 or 22.
For a happier family, try a Happy Families membership because a happy family doesn't just happen. Details at happyfamilies.com.au.
It's the Happy Families podcast, Dr. Justin Coulson and my wife and podcast partner, Mrs. Happy Families, Kylie, talking about fussy eating off the back of the story about Jackson Warne, who only eats yellow food. He's 21 years old. He tried tomato soup for the first time as a 21-year-old.
That's pretty. I can't actually wrap my head around that.
When you told me the story, unfortunately, we're going to do this better next time. But Kylie told me the story while we were driving. She says, Justin, get a load of this, and she reads me the story. And seriously, my mouth dropped to the floor. I'm like, no way! How is that even possible? Hasn't even tried tomato soup. I mean, tomato soup. It goes in mac and cheese. It goes into butter chicken. Tomato soup goes everywhere. I'm thinking, how can you not?
Oh, it's about as Australian as you get. It's like meat pie.
So Australian, I know. Let's catalogue some fussy eating moments with our children.
Well, we've had it lots over the years.
Oh, yeah.
But the one that we're struggling with at the moment is one of our daughters is just really particular about what goes on her plate.
So fussy.
She's very, very fussy. But what's so funny about it is that she will actually go and grab, when she looks at the dinner table, sees what we're eating and just has a meltdown pretty much every night.
And this has been going on for probably 4 years.
A long, long time.
So she's 10. For those of you who know our family, you know which one it is now. This is the 10-year-old. But she's always been fussy and super fussy for like the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, definitely. And, so I'll make this beautiful salad with all the colours of the rainbow in it, and she'll take one look at it and just have a meltdown.
And that's one of our rules, right? We have lots of colour on our plate because we know that the more colourful your plate, the healthier it is, so long as, of course, it's nutritious food and not lollies.
That's right. But we also have a rule that, I only make one meal. So I'm not catering for 15 different appetites here. We have one meal, and one night we kind of worked out that this was not working, and we said to Lily, what is your solution? What are you going to do about it? And she said, well, I'm going to make my own dinner.
And we said, hallelujah.
And so we thought, let's give this a go and see where it goes. So here she goes to the fridge and she takes out her handful of spinach and a handful of cherry tomatoes and a carrot and a cucumber and some strawberries if we've got them, or some berries of some sort, maybe some apple. And she cuts herself a salad and puts them on her plate all individually. And so she's eating exactly the same foods that we're eating, but she has to do it a certain way to make it seem palatable to her. And as you watch her eat, she actually eats each food individually.
It's a really great learning there, because sometimes our kids do want to eat the same food that we're eating. They just don't want to eat it the way we've organised it. So you don't give the child the tossed salad. Keep the foods separate so they're not sort of jumbling all the flavours together, and that might solve it. Or maybe they just don't like the texture of one thing that's gone in, and therefore you can get around that by excluding that food. I mean, it's not going to solve every issue, but just by giving her the autonomy and saying to her, okay, if you don't like it, that's fine. You go to the fridge and you choose what you're going to eat. And so long as it's colourful and so long as it meets our food rules, then go for your life. That's solved a lot of dramas and dilemmas.
It really has. And I think we have another child, and she has a bit of a meltdown when anything new comes to her plate. She really struggles with new foods. And so one of the rules that we have kind of created in our home is we try new things. And the way we've kind of worked with that with our children is they have to have 3 mouthfuls. Not 3 little nibbles, 3 pretend mouthfuls, but 3 solid mouthfuls. And with this particular child, what has been amazing about it is that she cries for the first 2. And by the time she gets to the 3rd, more times than not, she's kind of like, this isn't so bad after all.
It's really funny as well when you look at what the research shows. So believe it or not, children do actually have food preferences. Sometimes they're not being fussy. Sometimes they just don't like a certain food.
Look at you and I. There are things that we just don't like.
Yeah, like coriander. I can't eat the stuff. It's like poison.
I don't know what your problem is. Coriander is the food of the gods.
If I get it near me, I feel like I'm going to die. It's literally like kryptonite. But the other thing is just thinking about these stories about our fussy eating kids. Sometimes they just want to be in control. They want it their way. They want to feel like they've got a sense of control over what's happening on their plate. And so I think that's part of what's going on for them. They just want that. Then there's sensory issues and sensitivities. There's big emotional moments. Like if everyone comes to the table stressed, sometimes it's just not nice to be at dinner together. And then there's that whole, the technical term for it. I'm about to impress you with a big word. Are you ready? It's called food neophobia.
Food neophobia.
Yeah, so neo means new, phobia means fear of, so fear of new foods. Most kids actually don't have fear of new foods, but sometimes people think that they're afraid of the new food because it's that thing where new food is actually distressing because I'm unfamiliar with it.
Well, I think that that's where our rule for the 3 mouthfuls has been really helpful because it lets the children, because it's including me as well. There are times where we put things on the table that are stretching me. I've never been a big seafood person, but you love seafood. So when salmon was first put on my plate, that was really scary for me.
Yeah.
But I recognised and knew that my children were watching as well. And so I highlight and I let them know this is not something that I would normally eat. This is something that I don't actually enjoy eating. But I also recognise that it's really good for me, and so I'm willing to give it a go.
I think that's a critical take-home message. We've got to be a model. And now you're even eating fish parcels, wrapped in foil, thrown in the oven or on the barbecue with the you're not putting the olives on. You still won't eat the olives.
I don't like olives.
We
no.
have such different food preferences. Isn't it amazing?
But the other day, my sister had a laugh because I said that we had to have garlic prawns. When was the last time?
You won't touch prawns. You never ate prawns. So the take-home messages for today as follows. First of all, if you're struggling with fussy eaters, just recognise that maybe they don't like the food. But you might also just want to encourage them to have a couple of bites and then reintroduce the food in a couple of weeks and get them to have a couple of bites and then try again in a couple of weeks and get them to have a couple of bites.
Well, you think about it when we have a brand new baby and as they move into solid foods, we recognise and know that for them, we have to introduce it numerous times. Science, supports that theory. Yeah. And as we get older, it's no different.
Yeah. The next one would be a good example. Like, just make sure that you're not making a big deal about what foods you will and won't eat. Try new things. Make a deal about the fact that you're trying new things. And if you don't like it, be okay with that. But also highlight to the kids, I didn't like that so much, but I think I should try it one more time just to make sure. Like, let's say it's fish and you don't like fish. Tried the fish, didn't like it, but you can do fish lots of different ways. So I might try it one other way before I decide that I'm never having fish again.
And I think there's a real value in doing that, isn't there?
And you might actually discover that you've found your new favourite meal once you try it the new way. And the third thing, make sure that when you serve your kids meals, the plate should be colourful, but there should be foods on the plate that they will eat. And encourage them to eat what they love, but also just have that bite of the stuff that they're not used to eating. I reckon that's probably about it.
Yeah, I think that when you're introducing your children to new foods, it's just really important that there are other things that they enjoy on the plate so that, it's not so overwhelming to them. And it might just be, a couple of mouthfuls of something that's not so nice so that they can mush in with everything else.
Hopefully that's a helpful take-home message. If you've enjoyed the podcast, we'd love to hear about it. You can send us an email, podcasts@happyfamilies.com.au, or please jump online and visit the place where you download your podcasts and leave us a rating and review. I love it when we get these. Kylie, you've become the star of the show recently. We've had another 5-star review. This is from TBK Wills, who said,
I'm so sad I've only just found Justin and Kylie Coulson when my eldest child is almost 14. They offer fabulous advice that I wish I had in my parenting toolbox much, much earlier. Oh, she's so beautiful. I desperately want to turn my family's unhappiness around, and so I'm adopting a better late than never attitude. Thanks, Justin, and love how Kylie has joined the podcast. You're great, but the two of you are better.
Oh, love that.
I love that.
Thanks so much for the 5-star
much.
review, TBK Wills. You can do what TBK Wills has done and leave us a rating and review wherever you get your podcasts. We really appreciate that. It's you doing that helps other people find the podcast and hopefully make their families happier, like we're hopefully making your family happier. Oh, by the way, we make families happier with our Happy Families memberships. You can get all the details at happyfamilies.com.au, or you can follow us on our social media platforms like Instagram and Facebook. Dr. Justin Coulson's Happy Families.